Hi, my loves. Say hi, Remy. Okay, back up. Oh, I know it's been like a good amount of time. I know it's been a good amount of time since the last video. I just been kind of inconsistent. I've been dealing with transitioning back home from school, a lot of other stuff. So no excuses though. No excuses though. I'm locked in. We're back, and we have a special treat. So I really think y'all are gonna enjoy this episode. So let's get into it. As you can see, I'm not in the pod anymore. The locations are probably just gonna keep changing until I find a new location. Right now, it's the back porch. Don't do too much. Like I said, I have a special treat for y'all today. I sat down with Aaron Golub. He is the first legally blind Division I athlete to play in a game. Reason that I'm really excited for y'all to hear from him today is because he's someone who really just pushes the limits, pushes the limits, pushes the limits. In high school, he worked really hard and became one of the top nationally ranked long snappers for football. Then he made the team at Tulane University, climbed the ranks there, pushed himself there, became one of the team captains at Tulane. At 17 years old, shared his story with Good Morning America, and then ended up making his business out of it. He is a successful entrepreneur, professional speaker, and consultant. His business is amazing. His messages are amazing, and so I'm just really excited for y'all to hear that. Now, the messages that he has today is not something that you want to miss, especially if you are a young athlete trying to navigate your way and make it to the next level, separate yourself within your team, things like that. I mean, his words really touched and inspired me when he came and visited Quinnipiac and talked to us. So I'm hoping in the same way it influences you as well. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into it. Yeah, okay. So, just to jump right into it now, you've already shared that you got into football because you just loved it. You've always loved the sport, but did you anticipate really like how special this could be, how big and how far it could take you?
In the beginning, definitely not. I think as I continued to grow, continued to get better, I learned that, I had an opportunity to play and to play at a high level. And it took a lot of time, effort, and energy to be able to do that. But it wasn't something that I knew necessarily from the start that I could play at such a high level.
Yeah. So what did the starting process really look like for you?
Yeah, it was really a bunch of learning and growing. When I started playing football, I wasn't very good. I wasn't very athletic. I wasn't big, fast, or strong. And it was developing myself and those skill sets in the weight room, on the field, in all areas of life to become that athlete, and also finding that right position for me. For me, I there were certain positions on the field I couldn't play, and certain ones that I wasn't great at, and so I had to find the right position for myself, and that was several years of not playing, of never touching the field, of not really being a day-to-day contributor, but learning, growing, being a part of the team, and finding a way to eventually make my way onto the field.
Yeah, wow. So in those moments, like you said, the years building up to that, what mentally, like any mental obstacles or how like did you really face, that time of waiting?
It was challenging for sure. There were no one wants to be on a team and riding the bench. No one wants to do that. And so for me, it was understanding that, I had a lot to learn still. I had a lot to do to get better. And was continuously getting better each and every day. And understanding that eventually that would build, eventually I would make it to where I wanted to go. I would continuously get better. I
Mhm.
understood that it wouldn't happen tomorrow, and oftentimes we want to be the best at what we do immediately, and that doesn't happen. And so we need to take that step back and understand how can we continuously focus on just learning about getting better, about being a part of the team, about helping others, and understanding that that will eventually compound into, eventually making ourselves better at whatever it is we want to do.
Yeah, that's so good. So, as you were growing up, as a young athlete, I know that really the environment that you are in, it makes a huge difference, into your experience. And by environment, I mean the people around you, whether it be your teammates, whether it be your family. How did your environment really impact you as a young athlete? And like, is there any advice you would give to those people who are trying to be supportive to these young athletes?
Yeah, my environment had a huge role there. I think my parents did a great job of helping me out and pushing me to do my best. I got up every morning at 5 a.m. to go practice long snapping my position before school in high
Wow.
school. And my dad would most of the time come and catch my snaps and help me get better, but he would never the night before say, Aaron, do you want to go practice tomorrow? But if I would say, hey, dad, can you take me to school tomorrow morning at, 5:30 and can we, go practice? He would always be there to help, to support, to, take me and help me get better. He was not going to, neither of my parents, my mom, my dad, no one was going to do it for me. But if I was there and willing to put in the time and effort, they would help do what they could to put me in that position to succeed.
Mm, that's awesome. And then how was it with your teammates? How supportive were they? Did it take a long time to kind of find your spot on that team?
Whenever you're on a new team, it always takes that time. I think my teammates understood and thought in the beginning that, maybe I couldn't do this or maybe I needed certain differences or changes. But I think they learned pretty quickly that I was going to put in the same work, if not more, than everybody else around me. And
Mm,
I'm a strong believer of leading with your actions and not with your words. And when I was able to do that each and every day, they saw the level of commitment that I had. And because of that, I earned their respect and I earned the opportunity to, play with them and play on that team and be a part of the program I was.
yeah.
And I think that really helped develop those, relationships. When people see you on a team consistently putting in time and effort and energy, they understand that you're there to compete.
I love it. So getting up 5 a.m. consistently is definitely not an easy thing to do. Is that something that you were able to stick with consistently? Is there something, were there moments where you were discouraged in those times? How did that really look for you?
Yeah, I mean, I stuck with it consistently and I still wake up very early. It's There's always discouragement, there's always challenges. At the end of the day, the thing that I look at is look, some days are gonna be tough. At the end of the day, like no one cares. No one
Mm,
cares if you don't feel well. No one cares if you don't want to do it. At the end of the day, if you don't put in the time and effort, the only person you're hurting is you. If you're
right.
a high school athlete and you want to play in college, go practice. If you don't, then sorry, you're not going to make it. It's a
Yeah.
tough stance to take, but it's the truth.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So talking about that transition from high school to college, what did your recruitment process look like?
It was different than most players. I was ranked pretty highly for my position in the country, but it's not like I was a top quarterback. And so I didn't have coaches knocking down my door. And so for me, it was doing a lot of outbound outreach to people, sending tons of cold emails, making tons of cold calls, showing up in football offices, trying to meet with coaches because I knew and I understood that all I need is one person to say yes. And when I found that person, I would have an opportunity to play and to prove myself. But it was really doing a lot of outreach, trying to figure out who would give me a shot.
Mm. Yeah, so what did those conversations look like? I know like maybe cold emails, I don't know how many people responded to you when you went into the offices. What did those conversations look like?
Really just introducing myself in the beginning and telling them who I was, what I could do, and trying to get them to buy into, me as a person, trying to get them to understand how I could help, how I could support. Obviously most schools, most coaches didn't have an interest. Either they, already had long snappers or they just didn't want to, or whatever that looked like. But
Mhm.
I was trying to express the value I could provide and how I could be a part of the team. And, not everyone every year is looking for a new long snapper. Not everyone every year is looking for a new quarterback. It's finding the school that is looking for what you're specifically doing and good at, but also
Mhm.
finding one that is a good fit for you in general.
Right. So you get that yes, Tulane says yes to you. What is your mindset? What are you feeling in that moment and stepping onto the field in those first, that first year, that first few moments? What did that look like for you?
Yeah, when I got to Tulane, my understanding was I'm at the bottom of the totem pole. It didn't matter what I did in high school. It didn't matter what I was ranked. None of that matters anymore. I was in a room with, people who are all conference, all state, all American, some of the best athletes that I've ever met.
Mm.
And all that matters anymore is what you can do for the team. No one cares what you did last year in high school. No one does. And it's how can you prove yourself and earn your spot, because everyone at that level starts from the bottom, and it's earn your spot or you're no longer on the team. Earn
Yeah.
an opportunity. And that was my focus each and every day, is how do I continuously prove that I deserve to be here?
Yes. And so in what ways did you do that?
Yeah, a combination of just continuing to put in that extra time and effort like I did in high school, whether that be in the weight room, in the classroom, on the field, just extra time and effort wherever I could, as
Mm.
well as helping and supporting others around me. I think that's really important. If I were in the weight room and someone, is lifting weights and they need help or support in some fashion to do it better, to push themselves, then helping that teammate. If we're in the classroom and someone's struggling, how can I support them and help them to do better? If we're on the field and one of my teammates is struggling, if we have another long snapper who just had a bad snap, what do I need to do to help that person continuously get better? Because at the end of the day, what matters is how the team does.
I love that. And so that carried you all the way into, excuse me, into becoming team captain. Can you talk about really stepping into that role and really what leadership looks like? How did your mindset shift, or was it a bit of kind of the same thing going into that?
Yeah, so as you mentioned, I was named a captain during my senior season. And for me, the focus continued to really be, how do I help others and how do I move this program forward? At the end of my sophomore season, my coaching staff got fired and a new staff came in. And in that moment, it was, how do I be a part of the change and the turnaround of this program? What do I need to do? And I think the biggest lesson there is just understanding that the team is more important than any individual. And my focus for those, next couple of years with the new staff was, how can I be a part of turning this program around? It can't be done by any one person, but if I can help to influence and help to be a part of that, we can turn the program around and do something great. And that was my focus of just putting the team before myself, becoming a leader and doing whatever I could to help.
Yeah, I love that. So you talked about, you said that challenges shape our unique identities. Can you talk more about what that looks like?
Yeah, I'm a strong believer that the challenges we face happen for us and not to us, and they happen for us for a reason.
Mm,
I say all the time how I'm grateful, I'm thankful and grateful I was born legally blind.
mm,
It's a blessing for me. I don't think I would have played football at the level I did if I wasn't legally blind. I don't think I'd be the person I am today or have the businesses I run or any of that. And I think that when you look at the challenges with a perspective of gratitude, you can understand how you can learn from it, grow from it, and get better from it, and ultimately live a better life. You
yeah.
also can choose to have a negative perspective and let it take over your life and determine what you can't do and ruin things. But
Mm.
if you can look at it with gratitude, with positivity, and have that perspective, I think it gets better.
Yeah, wow. And so transitioning from football and all of the lessons that you've taken from football, a lot of the things that you've been sharing, you've been able to create your own business from that. Do you carry those, do the lessons that you've learned in football carry over into how you run your business? Has it impacted that, or how has that been for you?
Yeah, there's lots of lessons that carry over from athletics and football to business. There's some that do, some that don't. But I think some of the biggest ones are how you run a team. I'm right now onboarding someone new onto my team to help with certain things. And it's, how do I train them? How do I be there for them? How do I support them and really be there to show them and teach them? And it's not just throwing someone in to the fire and saying, go figure it out. It's we're doing lots of calls, lots of training, lots of things to make this person get ramped up to speed and understand how they can best fit into the new role that they're fitting into. The same way with football, understanding and learning communication, leadership, all of those things are things that you learn from football, you learn from any sport, and they definitely translate into business.
Wow, yeah. And so again, another key that you talked about is that leads to success. You talked about grit. Grit leads to success. What are examples, and how can people show that level of grit?
Yeah, and it goes back to kind of what we talked about a little while ago. Of at the end of the day, no, if you don't wake up and go to practice tomorrow, if you don't push yourself, like, no one cares. No one's
Right.
going to care either way. It's,
Mm-hmm.
do you want to do it for you? At
Mm,
the end of the day, if you let's just say you're playing football and you decided that you don't want to push yourself and you get worse and then you stop, then you don't really play much and then you get kicked off the team. The coach doesn't care. He's going to replace you tomorrow.
Hmm.
There's a million other people. It's, do you want it for you? And if you do, then find a way to have grit, find a way to have determination and consistency to move forward. And it
Yeah.
really comes down to that internal why is, do you want this or not?
Wow. Yes, I love that. And so then another part of that is confidence. You talked about it's important to foster confidence. What goes into doing that?
Yeah, I think confidence comes from small steps and small wins. If you consistently keep the promises you make to yourself, if you say you're going to wake up at 5 a.m. tomorrow and you wake up at 5 a.m. tomorrow, that's going to boost your confidence because you kept that promise to yourself. But if you tell yourself you're going to wake up at 5 and you hit the snooze button and you get out of bed at 6:30 because you hit it 15 times, then you're breaking that promise to yourself and you're ruining your confidence. And it's making consistently keeping promises that you tell yourself, I think, is really important to keeping your confidence. And honestly, that's a great example of waking up earlier. And so, people say, "Oh, how do you wake up early?" It's like, well, if you wake up at 7 every day, you don't just automatically go set your alarm for 5 tomorrow.
Right.
It's because you're not going to do it. You're not going to wake up, and then your confidence is going to lack, and you're not going to keep that promise to yourself, and you're going to feel bad about yourself. But tomorrow, wake up 6:45 and do that for a week. And
Mm,
then, slowly start to wind it back, maybe 6:35, 6:25, 6:15. Start slowly doing that, but consistently actually doing it. Because in that specific scenario, I'd rather see someone every day for the next 3 weeks dial it back 10 minutes a day, but
mhm.
actually get up when their alarm goes off than just tomorrow wake up at 5 and go back to sleep because, they hit the snooze button 15 times.
Yeah, wow. Okay. I love that. That's a good one. So then again, talking about confidence, you're 17, about to share your story in front of millions on Good Morning America. What were those moments like really leading up to that? Was that something that you had to kind of build up the confidence for?
Yeah, it was definitely nerve wracking. At the time, it was something that I didn't feel comfortable doing, talking about, or being a part of. And so I was definitely scared going into it, but it was understanding that through sharing my story, I could help or impact someone else. And that's ended up being why I did it. But yeah, I would never say that I was confident going into that. That was the first, major spotlight that I really had on my life. And
Yeah.
it was absolutely nerve wracking.
Hmm. Well, now that you've been able to share your story, what does it mean to you?
You know, it's, It's always incredible to be able to share and help others through it, and I think that's really important. A coach had told me when I was considering if I should do that or not, he said, "Aaron, ultimately, it's your decision, but if you can go on and your story can help or impact one other kid or one other person, then it's worth doing." And that's what pushed me to decide to do it when I did it. And I think that's helped shape a lot of the decisions I make with different work and different businesses and deals that I run.
Mm, I love it. So then if there's a last few questions, honestly, if there's
Yeah.
one or a couple of things that you would tell your younger self right now, what would it be?
It's okay to fail and it's okay to mess up and we're not always going to make the right decisions and do the right things. What's not okay is to, fail the same way 15 times. If you fail at
Wow.
something, there's no issue there, but learn from it. Use it as a learning experience. If you get an F on a test next week, that's not the end of the world.
Mhm.
But if you then take the same test again 3 weeks later and you get the same grade, well, then that's an issue and that's your fault because you didn't make any changes. But if
Yeah.
you take that test, you fail it, and you learn from it, you change your study habits, you ask for help, you learn differently, and then you get a B on the next test, well, that wasn't a failure. That was success because it taught you what you needed to do to make changes.
Yes. Wow, it's a lesson. I love that. Jeez. Okay. Last question. What are you focused on now and moving forward and now with your business and with maybe your family? Like what are you focused on now and moving forward?
Yeah, so right now I run my business and do
Mhm.
that, and part of it does require travel and things of that nature, of speaking at different schools, teams, companies, events all over the world, and that's one section of my business. But ultimately, at the end of the day, it's A, how can I help and impact others each and every day? That's really important. But B, how do I grow and scale the business? I love the entrepreneurship side. I love growing and scaling businesses in that realm, and so it's really fun for me to figure out, what do I need to do better this year than last year, this quarter than last quarter, this month than last month.
Yeah, I love that. And so actually I lied. I do have one more question.
No worries.
Um, within your when you talked about like in your recruiting process, I remember when you came to Quinnipiac, you talked about how important it is to advocate for yourself, how to be able to advocate in the right way is very
Yeah.
important. So what does advocating for yourself look like both in the college process and now like that you are in the business world as well?
Being comfortable asking for help when you need it, I think, is really important. Understanding that most people think that that's a weakness when it's really a strength, and understanding that there's no harm in asking for help. It's only going to help you in the long run.
Mm,
When I travel, I need to ask for help to help me get through the airport and find my gate. If I didn't do that, I'd get lost. But I
mm.
need to be able to advocate and ask the right people for help when I need it and stand up for myself when I need those things. And I think everyone should learn how to do that because you need that to get far in life.
Yeah. Yeah, so what did it take for you to learn, to really learn that? Is it more of like trial and error, having these conversations, really kind of building the confidence up to step out? What did that look like?
It's understanding that 99% of people are there to help and support you. And if you ask for help, most people will help. I
Mm,
think most people don't ask for help and don't advocate for themselves because they're afraid that people will say no or make fun of them or not want to. But at
mhm.
the end of the day, most people have good intentions. Like
Yeah.
they really do. If I'm walking on the street and someone, comes up and asks for help in some capacity, oh, where is something? What direction is this? Or can you help me get across the street? I'm gonna help. Like most people are there to help and willing to if you ask. But we have
Mm,
this perception in our minds that people don't want to help, that they're not going to be friendly, that they're not going to be supportive. And for the majority of people, that's not true.
mm. I love that. Well, I really just thank you for your time. A lot of this stuff, I know when we first talked at Quinnipiac, it really helped me. So I'm hoping that, when this gets out there, it helps a lot of
Yeah.
athletes as well. Is there anything else that you would want to share?
No, I mean, I think the biggest thing, and we've talked a lot about great things today, and I always like to emphasize this when I do speak engagements, and we talked about it briefly earlier here, and we talked about when I was at Quinnipiac, but that aspect of gratitude and perspective, I think, is really important
Yeah.
because at the end of the day, your situation can simply change by finding gratitude and positivity within it and shifting your perspective. You can
Yeah.
go from having a terrible day to having a great day by shifting your perspective around the situation that you're in. And I think that's really important for a lot of people to hear.
Yes. Great messages. Like the whole thing was just great. And what he's saying, gratitude, it's just very true. It's so true. And I challenge you to really put that into practice because I know specifically that it helped me in my journey to stay grounded in those moments where things are going harder than I expected or they're not going the way that I had envisioned them to go. A few things that I did that you could try is like set a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes where you're just praying and thanking God for whatever. Like you're just listing things out that you're thanking God for. And it could be the smallest things. I thank God for my hair. I thank God for my clothes. I thank God for my skin. I thank God, like it could be small things, it could be big things, but shifting your mindset and it just helps to shift your mindset and your heart posture to be in a position of gratefulness and just watch how you navigate things differently. I'm just really grateful for Aaron's time, and I hope you enjoy as well. I hope that you understand that things happen for a reason. Use that stuff to advance throughout your journey. Don't let it hinder you. If you want to check out more about him, you can find him at aarongolub.com. I will link that in the description or however this works. Um and yeah, he really does. He just has like a whole bunch of great messages. So I hope y'all check that out. Thank y'all. See you next time. 'Cause I don't want the simple life. It's the fine things I like.